Okay, well, today my goal is to talk about redundant arithmetic, which is a different kind of number representation. So let me start with what redundant arithmetic is and how we start representing numbers using positive and negative bits. Okay, so uh, in a typical 2's complement number system, we have seen the bits to be, let's say, 0.1011. And what that says is that this is the sign bit, which is, if this is 1, that's a negative number, and the weight, so the weight of this bit is -1, the weight of this bit 2 to the power -1, 2 to the power -2, 2 to the power -3, and 2 to the power -4. Okay. Whereas in a redundant number, we represent each digit, we call that digit, that can be -1, 0, or 1. So if you think about what is the value of each digit here, so one bit is either 0, so this bit can be either 0 or 1. Here it is 0, other places it is 1. So one bit can be 0 or 1, that can take two possible values. So a bit here can take two possible values, that's 1 or 0. Now when I think about a digit, that can take three possible values, -1, 0, 1, I can no longer represent each digit by using one bit. So I need at least 2 bits to encode a digit. Log 3, so these are three possible values. So I need log 3 to base 2, and the ceiling of that is 2, which means I need 2 bits to encode each digit. Okay, so let me start with, and so why are we interested in redundant arithmetic? It has certain nice properties. It has certain nice properties that allows us to compute the operations in MSD first. So typical 2's complement arithmetic is well suited for operations that are LSB first. So these are least significant bit first operations. If I'm adding two numbers, multiplying two numbers, then I can compute them in a least significant bit first manner. Okay, so now I don't call this MSB first because each unit is a digit. So to correspond to digit, this can be MSD first. So that means this can be ideal in inherently MSD first operations such as division and square root operations. So division and square root operations are inherently most significant digit first. That means using redundant arithmetic can help us compute these things in a natural manner. Okay, so let me talk about how do we represent these digits. So let's say that I have -1, 0, 1, and so I need to have two bits. So let's call this xi, the ith digit of x, called xi, and I can represent this as a bit xi plus and a bit xi minus. Okay, so we are saying that each digit needs to be represented by 2 bits. We are also saying it can be positive and negative. So that means I need a bit that is weight plus 1 and a bit that is weight minus 1. So this is weighted plus 1 and this is weighted minus 1. Okay. So we can see the arithmetic value. So these are Boolean values. These are binary variables. So I can represent the actual arithmetic value of the digit xi as xi plus minus xi minus. So this is a minus weight, minus 1. So that's the value. So that means if I take, let's say that this is xi plus, this is xi minus, and then this is xi. Okay, so if this is 0, 0, 0, 1, 1, 1, 1, 0, so 0 minus 0, the arithmetic value is 0. 0 minus 1, that will be minus 1. 1 minus 1 will be 0. 1 minus 0 will be 1. So if the digit is minus 1, then the representation of xi plus xi minus as a pair will be 0, 1. If it is plus 1, that will be 1, 0. Now what you notice here is that the representation of 0 is not unique. So 0, 0 or 1, 1 represent 0. So the 0 representation is not unique. And that non-uniqueness really leads to this redundant arithmetic. And so if the 0 was unique, then we would not have redundancy. So how can we? So 0 representation is not unique. Okay, so let's take some examples. Let's say that I want to represent minus, let's say minus 1/8. So I want to represent minus 1/8 using, so if I were to represent using 2's complement, what would that be? That would be minus 1 plus a half plus quarter plus 1/8. Okay, so minus 1 plus half plus quarter plus 1/8, that's minus 1 plus 7/8, which is minus 1/8. And this representation is unique. It is not redundant. There is no redundancy here. It's a unique representation of minus 1/8. On the other hand, if I want to represent minus 1/8 using redundant number system, using, let me call that radix 2, because we'll be talking about other radices as well, using radix 2 redundant operation, redundant representation. So there are many ways I can represent minus 1/8. One way I can represent, so let me still consider the radix point to be right of the first position. So I could say 0.001 bar. Okay, so what does that say? So the weights are still, in this case, the weights are 1, half, quarter, and 1/8. So it's still radix 2. And I'm not saying the weight is minus 1 because it's just plus 1. Each digit can be minus 1. So the 1 bar in 1/8 position says it's 1/8 times minus 1. When I write 1 bar, that's really saying that the digit is minus 1. So I'm representing, when I write down each digit as 1 or 0 or 1 bar. 1 bar means the value of the digit is minus 1. Okay. And there are many other ways. So for example, I could write that as, so minus 1/8 could be written as minus 2/8 plus 1/8. Okay, so I can say, okay, that's minus 2/8 plus 1/8. So I can say this is 0.01 bar 1. That's another way. And in fact, I could write this in many other ways. So I could write this as minus 4/8 minus 4/8 plus 2/8 plus 1/8. So minus 4/8 plus 3/8, that's minus 1/8. So I could write that as minus half, means 1 bar at location half, and then these are plus 1. And then finally I can just represent like this. The only difference now is I don't write here 1, I write here 1 bar. So I can write 1 bar, 1, 1, 1. So 1 bar means this position has a value as a digit minus 1. So minus 1 times weight 1 will be minus 1. Okay. And that's really why the name is redundant number system, because we are now able to represent numbers in a redundant manner. There is the representation of a number is no longer unique. How does this non-uniqueness help us in simplifying some arithmetic? So initially it was thought that the redundant representation can lead to so-called carry-free operations. So we'll talk a little about that. It's not really carry-free, but we'll talk about that. There is a small amount of carry-free property of, so redundant numbers lead to a carry-free property. That means the carry no longer ripples from LSB to MSB. And what that means is it can tell us, it can help us represent, it can help us compute, add in MSB or MSD first manner. So, when we are trying to add numbers, usually we start adding from the least significant position and then go to the more and more significant unit. But using redundant numbers, we will be able to start adding from most significant bit and then go towards least significant bit. So that's kind of one of the advantages. And we will talk more about that in a minute, but let's think about what really could be the advantages. So for example, just to give you one idea of why we may be able to add from most significant bit first, let's say that I am trying to add 97 cents plus $2.92 as an example. Now, of course, we can add them in LS, the least significant digit first. We can say 292 and 97, 7 plus 2, 9 plus 9, carry 1, 2 plus 1, 3. Okay, $3.89. Okay. Now, the whole idea of redundant number system is to say, okay, 97 cents can be really written as $1 minus 3 cents. And $2.92 is same as $3 minus 8 cents. And then you add them up, add the most significant. These are the most significant places. So that's $4 minus 11 cents, which then leads to same result as $3.89. Well, that's kind of one intuitive way to think about how the addition might work if I were to compute using most significant digit first and then go down to least significant digits. Okay, we will revisit that. Let me talk about something called a hybrid. So let's start with something called a hybrid addition in radix 2. Okay, hybrid. Why do I call that hybrid? Okay, radix 2 redundant and the radix 2 redundant representation. Well, okay, it turns out that the word hybrid means one operand is in the redundant representation and another operand, second operand, is in unsigned representation. Unsigned 2's complement. Okay. So that's the name hybrid simply means two input operands are not in the same format. One of them is in radix 2 redundant representation, another is in radix 2 unsigned. So both are still in radix 2. And so if I call these operands x and y, okay, so we are computing s is equal to x plus y, where y is in unsigned 2's complement and okay, I don't really, I guess unsigned is enough, I guess. I can just unsigned. 2's complement means it accommodates positive and negative numbers, and if it's not signed, then I don't need to worry about saying it's 2's complement because it's not signed. And then s and x, the output s, the sum, so the sum s and the operand x are in radix 2 redundant representation. And that means each digit here can be -1. So the digit set is -1, 0, 1. For y, the digit set can be 0 or 1. Okay. So that's called hybrid because one operand and the resulting sum are in redundant representation, whereas another operand is in unsigned representation because of two different types of representations in the same add computation. We call that hybrid. So hybrid addition, that means we want to add x and y. X is in redundant representation and y is in unsigned representation. Okay, all right. So let's think about how we might add these numbers. So I can say that x, I, so let's write down x is, let's say x, let's assume that the word length is 6 as an example. So word length is 6. So I can say that this is x5. I could use decimal, it doesn't matter so much. 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. And that really simply means that, so the number y could be y5.y4321 0. But remember that each bit of y, so yi can be 0 or 1, and xi can be xi plus, it's represented by two values, xi plus, xi minus, with the actual value plus bit minus the negative bit, which can be -1, 0, 1. So it can take three possible values, -1, 0, 1. Okay, so what do I do to add x0 and y0 or x1 and y1? So at any position I, so if I want to add xi plus, xi minus, and yi, okay, I want to put this into an adder, and I want to compute a sum bit and a carry bit. Now this bit is negatively weighted. We will put a bubble here to represent that it's negative. This is plus, this is minus, this is plus. So we can call this an adder, which is called PPM, plus, plus, minus. Two operands are a positive weight, one operand has negative weight. So this is in a full adder, in a binary full adder, all operands are positively weighted. So if I have a full adder, that is A, B, C, and it computes a sum and a carry, this is a binary full adder, one bit full adder. So I can say A plus B plus C is equal to 2 times carry plus sum. Okay, so if all of these are 1, then this will be 3. 3 can be represented as 2 times 1 plus 1 carry will be 1, sum will be 1. Now here, what is the actual value of these quantities? So the value of xi plus minus xi minus plus yi, what is the minimum value? Well, I guess I could call yi plus. Okay, I could call yi plus because that's positively weighted to not be confused. Okay, so then this will lie between the range. The least negative value will be minus 1. So when the plus bits are 0, the minus bit is 1, so that's going to be minus 1. The largest positive value is going to be 2. When the two positively weighted bits are 1 and 1, negative bit is 0, 1 plus 1, 2 minus 0. So what does that tell me? Well, I need to represent that as a transfer. Let's call that a transfer digit t. So let's call this ti plus 1 and let's call this ui. So if I write this quantity is equal to 2 times ti plus 1, that's weighted times 2, that goes to the next most significant position. U stays here. That weight is u. Now, I need to think about which one of these two bits has to be positively weighted and which has to be negatively weighted. Well, the quantity 2, this quantity 2 can be represented as 2 times plus 1. So if this is plus 1, okay, if this is plus 1, so let's call this positively weighted, so let's call it ti plus 1 plus. And then I can say 2 times 1 is able to represent the largest positive value. Okay, so now how do I represent the value minus 1? How do I represent minus 1? So to represent minus 1, this has to be 0 because 2 times 0 is so to represent minus 1, so let's think about if this was already plus 1. There is no way that I can represent minus 1 if this bit was 1. I can't, because if this is 2, the least value will be 2 plus 0, or if this was a negatively weighted bubble, 2 minus 1, that would be plus 1. So I can give a bubble here, I can place a bubble and call it minus, and that's a negatively weighted bit. So xi plus minus xi minus plus yi plus is equal to 2 times the transfer digit to the next place, positively weighted, plus, well, actually I should say minus because it's negatively weighted, minus ui negatively weighted. So how do I represent minus 1? So minus 1 implies 0, 1. So t is 0, ti plus 1, and u is 1. So this is, so the 2 times 0 minus the negatively weighted 1 is minus 1. 0 can be 0, 0, 0, 0. 1, how does 1 get represented? 2 times 1 minus 1. So both will be 1, 1. 1, ui minus is 1. 2 times 1 minus negatively weighted, that's 1. And 2, 1, 0. So that's the description of the ppm adder. Okay, so how does the whole hybrid adder work? I can say that the whole hybrid adder will work like this. So x0 plus x0 minus y0 plus x0 x1. So that's the ppm, and then it takes a transfer digit, so x1 plus x1 minus y1, x2 plus x2 minus y2, and then we have 3, 4, and finally 5, x5 plus x5 minus y5 plus. Okay, so what we are showing here, so let's call these things, let's call this T1, let's call this T1 plus and U0 minus. Okay, so this is U1 minus T2 plus U2 minus T3 plus, well, this actually doesn't come here. What does come here is T5 plus and U5 minus T6 plus. Okay, so what is the result S then? Because we were trying to compute S is equal to X plus Y. So what exactly is the result S? S has to be in redundant representation. So each bit of Si must be represented as Si plus Si minus. So if I look at, so this quantity is going to be, this is the positively weighted bit, so we will call this S1 plus. This is negatively weighted bit, we will call this S1 minus. S2 plus, S2 minus, similarly S5 plus, S5 minus, and there is finally an S6 that either could be thrown away or could be, so the word length will increase. So with in every add and subtract, the word length can increase. So one way to do that is to have a guard bit. I haven't probably talked about guard bit, I'm not sure, but a guard bit simply means, in this example you could just have zeros. You could just think about this bit to be 0, and then, well, if we think about that as 0, then this will be S6 plus, and the S6 minus will be 0, because everything is 0. And similarly here, I didn't show this is S0 minus, but we can think about a dummy S0 plus to be 0. So we can assume there is a 0 input, which is a dummy input, and that's S0 minus. Okay, so that's going to be the output. So this is the, and as you can see, this really does not look like as if the carry is rippling through. Its carry is not rippling through. And this is part of the good news. It's not really all good news, because if we are going to add a lot of things, we could of course continue to add them, but at the very end, we will still need to go through a so-called vector merging adder, because at the end, I need to merge these quantities to get a 2's complement number. So the way to get a 2's complement number is to convert this redundant number S to a binary number or a 2's complement number. And we'll talk more about that. But let me talk about how can we take this parallel adder. So this is a parallel hybrid adder. And how can I represent this in least significant bit first? So if I'm going to represent in least significant bit first, these bits are coming in clock cycle 0, clock cycle 1, etc. Clock cycle 5. So when this comes in clock cycle 0, this comes in clock cycle 1, and I want to compute, I want to show what the output is. So for example, in clock cycle 1, so if I have this PPM adder, and I take xi plus, xi minus, yi plus, and then in clock cycle 1, so let's say this is so-called, let's say this is the bubble, and this is the bubble for the u, and this is the transfer digit, so this is u and t. Okay, so in clock cycle 1, I need to take the positively weighted bit that was computed in clock cycle 0. In clock cycle 0, the t digit, and I need to hold that for 1 cycle, and then this becomes si minus and si plus. So that's called the LSD first. So least significant digit first. So in clock cycle 2, I compute u2 minus in, well, I could say u minus, it's okay, t plus, in clock cycle 2, and the transfer that was computed from here in clock cycle 1 is stored, delayed for 1 cycle, and becomes available in clock cycle 2, and that becomes S2 plus. So that's how we can implement this in LSD first. If I want to implement that in MSD first, I can do that as well. So there is nothing that will prevent me from operating the hybrid adder in MSD first. So let's take a look at how the MSD first works. Okay, let's say that now in MSD first, let's say that this is clock cycle 0, because we are computing most significant digit first. So this is clock cycle 0, and I compute this u minus, okay, but I can't really output this. I cannot output the S5 at all, because S5 plus will be available in clock cycle 1. So in clock cycle 1, when I take bit number 4, then we will be able to compute the transfer digit T5 plus, and that will then be S5. So I take the U and store the U for 1 cycle, and that then becomes Si. So after 1 cycle. So I could say that this is Si minus 1. It doesn't really matter all that much. It's Si minus Si plus. So in clock cycle, let's see, clock cycle 1, I get x4 and y4, and I compute T5, and that becomes T5, and then the previously computed U5 was held, and now I can output. So S5 can be output in clock cycle 1. S4 can be output in clock cycle 2, and then S3 in clock cycle 3, and then 4, 5, and 6. Okay, so there is a little more to these delays with respect to resetting them and so on, which I'm not talking about. But but at least this shows that if I want to implement LSD first, the transfer digit is delayed. So is held and becomes part of the next sum digit. This is a digit. If it is MSD first, then instead of the transfer digit being delayed, the U digit is delayed, and the current S is output when the T becomes available in the next clock cycle. Okay, that's kind of the main idea. Okay, so now we have talked about hybrid add. So let's spend a little time talking about hybrid radix to subtract. So I want to compute s is equal to x minus y, and x is exactly same as before, which is the representation x plus and x minus. So x is represented using xi plus xi minus, y is unsigned, y is still unsigned, which is represented as yi plus, which is unsigned. So at each position now, so I want to compute xi plus, so this is a digit that uses 2 bits, xi plus xi minus, y is y plus. So I want to take the value of this, which is xi plus minus xi minus, subtract minus y I plus. Okay, so that's kind of what we are computing. The arithmetic value of what I am computing is given by xi plus minus xi minus minus. I'm subtracting this. Now what is the dynamic range? What is the range? Not dynamic, what is the range of this quantity? So the minimum value will be minus 2. If this is 0, this is 1 and 1, minus 2. The maximum value will be plus 1. If this is 1, negative bits are 0, that will be plus 1. Now if I am going to represent this by a transfer digit and a sum digit, what would that be? The transfer digit has xi plus, xi minus, yi plus. These two are both negatively weighted, and this is the transfer digit and this is the u digit. So how do I represent minus 2? Because that is weighted minus 2, that should really be minus 2 times, well, okay, that should be minus 2 times t minus. So if t minus is 1, so this has to be negatively weighted. I put a bubble here. And by putting this negatively weighted here, I can then say, okay, if the result is minus 2, that's going to be that's going to be 0, 1, 0. So minus 2 is going to be 1, 0. Minus 2 times 1 plus 0. Minus 1 will be 1, 1. Minus 2 plus 1 plus 1. So this is u is going to be positively weighted. So I can then write this as minus 2t minus plus u plus. So the transfer going to the other side becomes negatively weighted. And how do I then have the sum digit? Well, it will turn out, well, I could call this ti plus 1. That's going to the next one. And this is ui. Okay, ti plus 1 minus ui plus. And then there will be another ti coming from the next one. So if I am doing a parallel thing, so this will be the next t, this will be t I minus coming from the next least significant place, and we can call this adders mmp, minus minus plus. 2 inputs are minus, 1 input plus, so instead of using ppm adders, we can use mmp adders, and these two together, so I can now call this the sum positive bit, and I can call this the sum negative bit, and the actual value of s is going to be, so that's the digit si, which is si plus minus si minus. And that's, so the hybrid redundant hybrid radix to subtract can be implemented using mmp adders. Okay, so let's spend a little time talking about radix 4 representation. Okay, so this is, we have talked about hybrid add, hybrid subtract in radix 2. So let's talk about radix 4 add and subtract. Well, let's just talk about add. So radix 4, and it turns out that when we talk about radix 4, the redundant representation is not unique. There can be many possible representations. So we can have a minimally redundant, and that means the values can be, value of the digit can be minus 2, minus 1, 0, 1, 2. So it will take log 5 to base, log 5 to base 2 binary. So I'm trying to find how many binary bits, and that's going to be 3. 2 to power 3 is 8. It cannot be represented using 2 bits, so we need 3 bits. Okay, maximally redundant in radix 2 can be, each digit can be minus 3, minus 2, minus 1, 0, 1, 2, 3, and that can be represented using, so okay, so this can be, so I suppose, well, I suppose it could be represented using 3 bits, but usually we don't do that because the carry-free property may not hold good. So it could be represented using log 7 to base 2, and the ceiling of that, which would be 3 bits, 2 to power 3 is 8, which is 1 more than 7, but we don't do that. Okay, we'll talk about why. Okay, so so let's say that x is a minimally redundant representation and xi is the ith digit in minimally redundant. So we represent that as xi minus 2 and xi plus xi plus plus. So the 3 bits can be represented as 1 with weight minus 2 and 2 of them using weight positively weighted weights. Okay, all right. So whereas in the maximally redundant, we will represent that using 4 bits. So using 4 bits, and we will have xi plus 2. Let me just stick to the book notation. Yeah, xi plus 2, xi minus 2, and xi plus and xi minus. Okay, so think about what we are saying. So we are saying that, so in this particular representation, in the minimally redundant, so how do I represent minus 2? 1, 0, 0. 1, 0, 0. Minus 2 plus 0 plus 0. How do I represent minus 1? So this can be, minus 1 can be 1, 0, 1 or 1, 1, 0. Minus 2 plus 0 plus 1 or minus 2 plus 1 plus 0. 0 is 0, 0, 0. 1, how can we get 1? 0, 0, 1 or 0, 1, 0. Any one of these plus bits can be 1. That's the whole idea of being redundant. The representation is not unique. And how do I represent 2? That's unique. 0, 1, 1. Negative weight is 0. Positive bits are 1. 1 and 1. 1 plus 1 is 2. Okay. Now with 4 bits, what you really see here is, so think about this. So remember that if I had plus and minus weight, this is really a radix 2 digit. So this is a radix 2 digit. This is a radix 2 digit as well, but with weight 2 times higher than that. So the arithmetic value, okay, I should write down the arithmetic value. The arithmetic value of this quantity is minus 2x minus 2 plus xi plus xi plus plus. That's the arithmetic value. The arithmetic value here is 2 times xi plus 2 minus 2 times xi minus 2 plus xi plus minus xi minus. Okay, that's the value of the digit. So think about, so what I guess I'm trying to say is, if we are representing in radix 4 and representing using maximally redundant, this representation using 4 bits is nothing but concatenation of 2 radix 2 digits. This is a radix 2 digit. This is another radix 2 digit with one more position to the left. That means weight is 2 times. You concatenate these two together. So these 2 radix 2 digits together form the maximally redundant radix 4 digit. Okay. All right. Okay. So now let's talk about how can we add a radix 4 redundant and a radix 4 unsigned. Okay, so now we are interested in adding, so hybrid, let's start with hybrid radix 4 maximally redundant add. Okay, so that means we take this number, so we take xi, which is xi plus 2, xi minus 2, xi plus xi minus, and then we take yi, which is yi plus 2 and yi plus, so that is so that's the number that lies between 0, 1, 2, 3, that's unsigned. And so how do we really add these? Well, the way we can add them, so if we take the yi plus, if I take the yi plus and add these using a ppm adder, we have seen what those are. So 2 positively weighted, 1 negatively weighted, and then this generates a, so let's go back to the ppm. So this generates a sum which is negatively weighted and a transfer digit which is positively weighted. Okay, so this is u minus and t plus 2, t plus 2. Okay. Okay, so then, okay, so let's pause there. Then I could do same thing. I have 2 times weighted here, so this is plus 2 minus 2. Let's take the yi plus 2. So we took this yi plus, put it here, take the yi plus to put it here. So if I do that, then this is yi plus 2, put this into another ppm adder, and we get another u minus, but this time this will be u minus 2. Okay, because these weights are twice more than these weights, and this is going to be transfer digit, which is really t plus 4, or I don't know if the book calls it 4 plus, or okay, plus 4 is fine. Yeah. Okay, so well, let's take a look what we got so far. So we have certainly taken care of the operands. That's okay. So this is radix 4. This is 1 radix 4. And there will be another t plus 4 coming from the other side. So this is t. I could call this I. So if I think about this as ui, ti, ui. And this is ti plus 1 going there. And this is ti minus 1. Ti minus 1 plus 4. Okay, think about this is radix 4. So the weight of all of these is 4 times less than all of these weights. So the positively weighted, 4 positively weighted lines up very nicely here. So what do I really need to represent the sum? The sum has to be represented using a radix 4 maximally redundant, which means the sum should have 4 bits. And let's see if we can collect these 4 bits. Let's take a look. We do have 4 bits. Let's see what we can do. I need a bit positively weighted plus 2. So I do have si plus 2. I need a bit with negative weight, and I do have a negatively weighted minus 2. I need 1 with plus, 1 with minus. So I do have 1 with plus. The I minus 1 times 4 become really just a plus, because this is times 4 already compared to the next position. So this is si plus and there is a negatively weighted Si minus. So these together 4 bits correspond to the radix for maximally redundant sum computed from S is equal to x plus y. So computed from S is equal to x plus y. Okay. So these are the sum bits, and it repeats on both sides. Okay, so I think that's probably a good point to stop and talk about hybrid radix to minimally redundant. Okay, so I can go to minimally redundant and we'll do the same kind of operation. So okay, S is equal to x plus y. Y again is y plus 2. S and x are represented using, so S would be, so the minimally redundant is represented using one bit with weight minus 2, the other two with plus 1 position, plus 1 bit, plus 1 weight for xi plus 1 weight for xi plus plus. So this is Si, well, okay, just let's put yi. Si minus 2, Si plus plus, and xi minus 2, xi plus plus. So we need to add these things. Okay, so how do I add these things? Well, let's start with, let's take the positive bits. So the weight bits that have weight 1 are this one, and this one. So these three are weighted with, so this is a binary full adder. It's not ppm or mmp. So I take xi plus plus yi plus, and then compute. I can still call them u and t, that's probably okay. So there's u plus and t plus 2, this is weight plus 2, and then let's take all the positively and negatively weighted with weight 2. So then this is weight positively weighted, and then this is weight plus 2, I'm carrying that here, xi minus 2, that is weight minus 2, so that's minus, and then yi plus 2 is weight positive, so that's plus. So these all quantities, all these bits have weight minus 2 plus 2 plus 2. So 2, think about that as 2 as kind of the higher weight compared to these bits. And then this is a ppm, plus plus minus, and in a ppm the transfer digit will be, so this, the weight of this digit will really be T4, will be 4 plus. So Ti plus 1, 4 plus. So because we are going out, this is radix 4, so this is kind of our current position, whatever is here is 4 times less, whatever is here is 4 times more compared to the ith position. Okay, so what will come out of here? So this is going to be a bubble, and this is going to be u minus 2. Okay, well, I probably should call this plus 4 to be consistent with these notations. Okay, u minus 2. And so how do I represent that S? I need S minus 2. Indeed, this is Si minus 2. I need Si plus. I do have Si plus. Now, where is Si plus plus? Well, guess what? That's coming from here. So the positively weighted times 4 from the previous I minus 1 position is Si plus. Okay, so that's Si plus plus. So now, in fact, we have 3 of these that correspond to the digits of some I. So that's the hybrid radix for minimally redundant add operation. Okay, so let's talk about, so the real bottleneck what is the real bottleneck of, so it's okay as long as we are going through these computations in radix, 2 or 4 redundant numbers, that's just fine. But we at some point, we have to relate the real world. So when I relate the real world to the hybrid numbers, we need to think about actual conversions. Okay, so how do I really convert these numbers? So I gave you this example of adding 97 cents and $2.92, but ultimately still when I completed the add, that became some $3 minus 11 cents, something like that. Well, okay, so how do I then get that back to the fact that that's $2.89? Okay, and that's where I need to think about redundant to binary conversion. So that's an important part. How do we convert redundant numbers to binary numbers? Okay, so how do we convert the redundant numbers to binary numbers? Well, there is also the conversion from binary to redundant, but that's really pretty trivial. That's not difficult. That's pretty trivial, so we don't need to, well, we still can talk about it, but we don't need to worry about it that much. But the redundant to binary converter is indeed something that we should think about. Okay. All right, so let's say that, so after I go through these add operations, let's say that I got these redundant numbers. I have digit S1 with plus and minus, digit S2 plus minus, digit S5 plus minus. So how can I really convert that number to a binary number? Okay, so let's say that I have x0 plus, x0 minus, x1 plus, x1 minus, x2 plus, x2 minus, x3 plus, x3 minus. Okay, let's just say the word length is 4 bits. Okay, let's just stay there. No need to worry about. And when I convert this to a 2's complement binary number, so we want to convert this to, so if you think about the carry coming out here, so okay, let's just ask ourselves, what is the maximum value of this number? The maximum value will be all positive, so that will be, let's forget about the minus for the radix point for a minute. If I say this is 1 plus 2 plus 4 plus 8, okay, 8 plus 4 plus 2 plus 1 is 15. Okay, so and what about the, that's perfectly fine. I can represent that perfectly fine. There is no problem about that. Well, okay, that's not really true. That's not true. So if I have x3, x2, x1, x0 equal to, so this 1, 1, 1, 1, which is really 15, 8 plus 4 plus 2 plus 1. But in how do I represent 15 in 2's complement numbers? That will be 0.1111. Because remember, the most significant bit would be the sign bit. So if I interpreted this as the most significant, that would be minus 8 plus 7, that would be minus 1. So if this x3, x2, x1, x0 is equal to 1 bar, 1 bar, 1 bar, 1 bar, this result would be minus 15, which would be in 2's complement 1.0001, minus 16 plus 1, which is minus 15. So the point I am trying to make is, if we take a W digit redundant number, the resulting 2's complement binary number should be W plus 1 bits. there has to be another bit that must come out, and that bit here must be a negatively weighted bit. So this is a negatively, the sign bit, so-called sign bit, is a negatively weighted bit. Okay, so here is how we will proceed. Okay, so I start with thinking that, so I can use a negative dummy bit, which is actually 0 to begin with, okay, and then use an MMP adder, MMP, minus, minus, plus. And that is then the converted number. Let's say the converted number is y. So this is y0, and take so this is y0, y1, y2, y3, y4. So that's the 5-bit 2's complement number for this redundant to binary conversion. So if you notice what I have done, I have used the MMP adders simply to convert. So this is LSD first, simply to convert the number to a binary number. This is the sign bit. This is now the sign bit, which has weight -1. That matches with this bubble, saying that the arithmetic value of this bit is -y4. Okay, so that's how we can convert a redundant number to a binary number if we are computing using least significant digit first. Okay, so what I want to talk about is, well, I was talking about the redundant numbers can be added in MSD first, most significant digit first, but how can we really perform this redundant to binary converter? Well, first of all, is it possible, the question that we are asking, is it possible to convert the redundant number to binary number in MSD first, most significant digit first? So that means I take this in clock cycle 0, 1, 2, 3, and maybe a dummy clock cycle 4, and finish this in 5 clock cycles, output in 5 clock cycles. So is it possible to convert the binary redundant to binary number in MSD first manner? Well, it may seem like it is not possible or an impossible problem, but that's not really true. So how can we perform this at the conversion operation? Well, the conversion operation is nothing but, okay, first of all, the conversion operation is really nothing but a subtract operation. If you think about all the positively weighted bits, x3 plus, x2 plus, x1 plus, x0 plus, and call that x plus, so this conversion problem is really nothing but the subtraction of x plus all the positive bits minus all the negative bits, x3 minus x2 minus x1 minus x0 minus. That's really what I'm computing here, x plus minus x minus. And I'm doing that instead of using full adders in a typical carry ripple manner. This is nothing but a carry ripple. So this is a carry ripple converter. So how can we convert using MSD first? Okay, so that's the question we are asking. Now, if you think about what is the reason we are forced to compute in a carry ripple manner, What's the reason? Well, the real reason is I don't know what this, I can't compute what is this y2 here. I can't compute this because I need to know whether this carry coming from the next position, next less significant position is this bit is 1 or 0. That means its arithmetic value is 0 or minus 1. This is a bubble, this is a negatively weighted bit, so it's going to be either 0 or 1 bar. We can call it 1 bar, which is negative 1. Now, here is the thing. So the carry to this position is not known. Okay, it's not known. That's true. I don't know that carry. But what I do know is that input carry takes two possible values. It's either 0 or minus 1. It's not 3, it's not 50, it's not 100, it's not 0.1. So I know that the possible inputs, carry inputs to certain place is either 0 or 1 bar. So there is nothing wrong in my computing this digit, assuming both computations. Okay, it's the same idea as parallel branch, delayed decision in computer compilers. And the idea is, okay, I'm going to take a parallel branch. I don't know the control or the condition, but I can compute. If I know I'm computing in a way that this is this minus this plus 0 or minus 1, I can compute both. And as soon as I know the carry here coming, I can just use a control signal to select my duplicate results. So that's the whole essence. So we can compute in parallel, compute and update in parallel two variables, so-called, well, I am calling them y here. I think if I stick to the notation in the book, let's say that might be called x, I think, but let's take a look. So then I don't have to, yeah, it's called xi. Okay, so it doesn't really matter. So I could compute xi. So let me say that xi 0 equal to the 2's complement number up to position I. xi 1 bar, position I, if carry input is equal to 0. Carry input to position I is 0. xi 1 bar is ditto, same thing, if carry input equal to 1 bar. So the carry input, we don't know the carry input, but it's either 0 or 1 bar. And at every position, I am maintaining two variables that I'm updating in parallel. So then update xi 0 and xi 1 bar from xi minus 1 0 and xi minus 1 bar. So if I'm going through MSD first now, remember. So this is input in clock cycle 0, 1, 2, 3. So as I move along, I am computing two variables, two possible outputs, xi 0 and xi 1 bar. And when I reach the very, very end, I know that I need to keep only the value 0. Okay, so that's really the essence of parallel branch or compute in parallel and delayed decision. So that's kind of the idea. Okay, so now let's just think about, let's say that in a particular position I, so in a particular position I, let's say here, okay, now if I call this digit xi plus xi minus, okay, so the xi plus, okay, let's call this xi, okay, xi, which is xi plus xi minus. So this can be 1 bar, 0 or 1, okay, and then the carry in can be 0 or 1 bar. Okay, so at any position here, so if xi, so at any position xi, so x2 plus x2 minus, this can be 1 bar, minus 1, 0 or 1. The carry coming in will be 0 or minus 1 bar. Okay. Now this generates a sum y and a transfer t, okay, or a carry out, you can think of it as carry out, doesn't matter. Okay, which is negatively weighted, So what is going to be the result? So if I have 1 bar plus 0, minus 1 plus 0, that's minus 1. How do I represent minus 1? Minus 1 is minus 2 plus 1. So the sum is 1, transfer is also 1, right? So that's minus 2. So the minus 2, I can call that as 1 bar, and minus 2 and 1. So the way I am representing this is the transfer digit. 1 bar means, well, the transfer bit, I should say, bit, because that 1 bar is coming here. So that has twice weight compared to the sum bit. So this is the transfer, negatively weighted transfer bit, and this is the sum bit at digit I. Okay, so that's my notation. So 0 plus 0, 0, 0, 1 plus 0, digit 1, carry input 0, we get 1, that's 0, 1, 1 bar, minus 1, that's minus 2, minus 2 is 1 bar 0, that's the transfer negatively weighted minus 1 times 2, minus 1 plus 0, 1 bar 1, minus 1 plus 1, 0, 0, 0. So you can see that in these cases we get transfer digit is, these three cases, transfer digit is 1 bar, and the other cases it's not. So how can I use this result? So, oops, I made a mistake. Let's bring that back to, bring that back to the camera to what I'm writing. Okay, thank you. So, okay, so I was talking about how can we update this. So think about, I'm going through this, I've gone through here. So I've come from the MSB, I've come up to here. I have this xi minus 1, 0, xi minus 1, 1 bar, and then I need to compute what is xi. Okay, xi 0 and xi 1 bar. So let's talk about that. Okay, so we are interested in computing or updating xi and xi 0 and xi 1 bar. Okay, so So here is what we are interested in. We want at digit I, as I have moved along, in the very beginning I don't know what the carry coming in, so at every time we are updating two possible quantities, xi assuming the carry input is 0, xi assuming the carry input is 1 bar. And these are the actual digits. So in other words, what I am trying to say is, if I have computed so far xi, this is, let's call it xi minus 1. So so far I've computed xi minus 1, 0, and xi minus 1 bar, xi minus 1, 1 bar. And then from those, according to this digit 1 bar 0 1, I want to compute what is the new xi, assuming the carry input is 0 and carry input is 1 bar. Okay, so let me continue with this in the next class. So we will stop here today. This will take some time, so there is no point hurrying through this, and we will stop and we will continue this next class.